Hey everybody, this is Dr. Jonathan, and I'm starting a minute or two late here. I just finished a group, online Zoom group, talking to people about transition and change during this wild time. And in particular, what we were focusing on is how do we enter a time of uncertainty, and how are we experiencing a time of uncertainty, and that is what we're actually going to dive into a little bit today, specifically the idea of new grief arising. So that is what I want to talk about. And why don't we get settled and catch a little breath, and then we are going to settle into this conversation about spaces in between and what is arising for many of us as we are neither in the full quarantine anymore, nor do we know exactly what the future will bring, and amidst all this are confronted with all kinds of strange divisions and discussions to which there seem no good conclusions and no good ends. With that, I'm Dr. Jonathan Ellerby. You can check out what I'm doing at jonathanellerby.com. You can download a copy of my book, Spiritual Experience. If you have any problems with any of my downloads, make sure you contact me and let me know. We'll get you whatever it is you ordered or paid for. And if you ever have trouble with your volume while you're listening to me, make sure you check your headset, your device, and the actual application, because sometimes it mutes the volume by itself. So with that, let's take a deep breath. Let's close our eyes. And feel yourself slowing down and settling down with your breath as the vehicle. So big breath in, gathering up all uncertainty, worry, fear. And then big exhale. Couple more times. And then moving just to a soft breath in through the nose, down towards the belly as best you can. And as you breathe softly, feel the softness of the moment. Quietness that is within you and around you, even in strange or difficult times. Just stay with your breath. And as we transition to our conversation for the day, I want to offer a reading by Hildegard of Bingen that's really a prayer. And I kind of think of it as a prayer relating to the moment that we are in. Holy Spirit, giving life to all life, moving all creatures, root of all things, wash them clean. Wipe out their mistakes. Heal their wounds. You are our true life, luminous, wonderful, awakening the heart from its ancient sleep. So, the reason why we're coming back to the topic of grief, which we have talked about before during these quarantine times and quarantine talks, is because there is a new kind of uneasiness arising for a lot of people today. It might not be true for you in this moment, but it's certainly going to be true for you sometimes in life, and it's certainly true for people around you. When we have clear boundaries, clear direction, clear structure, without attachment or control, but simply a kind of energetic consistency that we know where we stand, and we know the time and energy we have to explore, then we actually find that the creativity of the self, the uniqueness of the self, can really expand. It can really expand and express itself in all kinds of beautiful and wonderful ways. And yet, in times of uncertainty, when we lose our parameters, we lose our boundaries, we lose the clarity of what's next. Not the kind of clinging, expectation, control-rooted clarity, but just the simple sense of knowing where the walls of the room are, where the doors and the windows are. We find that the mind and the emotions tend towards some of their less desirable qualities. The mind can be consumed with repetitious worries, thoughts, or even exaggerations and catastrophizing. This will never happen. These people always do that. Where could we possibly go from here? The emotions also, in the lack of context for what we are exploring relating to prioritizing, will often begin to express that which is unresolved, and not always in ways that are clear. So sometimes it comes out as impatience, sometimes it comes out as worry. For many, many people right now, it's actually coming out as a aggressive pursuit of freedom. So not just going back to life as normal, but in the extremes, we're seeing people partying hard, socializing a lot, going everywhere and anywhere they can, and in stark contrast to the other extreme. People still cautious, still concerned. I have to say, I just came from teaching another class, an hour-long group, and someone shared an amazing story. I don't know if she's listening right now, but she told the story of how one day recently she went walking down the street, her husband and daughter, all in the same household, single file, masks on, close together, or I can't remember, they didn't have masks on, but they lived together, and in that moment they were walking down the street. Someone rolled down the car window driving by and yelled at them, angry, chastising, "Keep your distance, wear your masks, what's wrong with you?" Not even realizing that these people have been in quarantine together for months. And then later the same day, she got a call from her friend who lives just down the street saying, I was walking by myself with my mask, far from anybody, and someone rolled down their window going the other way and yelled, "What's the matter with you? Take off your mask." Like, what do we do in the middle of these extremes? What we find is that this uncertainty fosters a kind of lostness, a kind of stuckness, a kind of feeling of being in limbo or on hold. And what I want you to know is that if you're feeling that weirdness of the middle, or if you're hearing people talk about that is normal. Not only is it a reasonable response to a strange and difficult time, but it is the natural feeling when all parameters and certainties have been removed. Now, before we close, there's a few important things to clarify here, because what we are discovering through the experience of this process is that there is a very special balance. And I've talked a lot about balance lately. And the balance is between choosing affirmative structures that provide focus and direction for the infinite power of our minds and our emotions, and the other extreme of clinging to those structures with attachment. On the other side, so here's one form of balance: embrace and create structure for yourself with open-mindedness, with curiosity, with flexibility and the willingness to adapt. Don't create structure with attachment and the desire for control. But on the opposite, we find the other piece, which is that a lack of structure, a lack of direction, a lack of focus or purpose also needs its balance, in the sense that we all need a little open time. We all need a little unstructured free time. And yet, we can spiral into a kind of chronic stuckness or feeling of being lost by allowing the emotion that arises in that openness and emptiness to take over. So we really don't want either extreme in a healthy, resilient life. The extremes of only being lost in an unstructured world, or only being attached to structure and control. Right now, in this time of uncertainty, the best thing we can do is be gentle with ourselves. Narrow your focus. If we don't know what's going on in a month or months or a year, let's not worry about that right now. We know we can, but right now, let's take things a day at a time, a week at a time. So use your time frames purposefully. A day at a time, a week at a time. When there's a lack of structure around you and people are going crazy with their extremes and reactions and division, find your center every day. Have a spiritual practice. Connect with meditation, prayer, reading, sacred and inspiring poetry. Keep a journal. Stay close to nature. And most importantly, give yourself permission to feel the unresolved emotions and grief that have been waiting for this moment itself. Too much structure can hide grief from us. And frankly, too much distraction and chaos can hide grief from us. Let us embrace this time of uncertainty to go inward and allow ourselves to simply feel whatever is arising, supporting it with the tools that we've listed and the other things that return us to our center, the feeling of being rooted, and the ability to endure the difficult conversations and emotions that we need to have with ourselves. Grief works itself out differently for every person and in different times and different ways, and you don't need to understand it completely. What may be coming up for you right now could be decades old, or simply the sadness for a world in distress and out of balance. Allow yourself that emotion. Allow yourself that sadness. And continue your journey with a narrow focus in time, all the tools and relationships that nourish you, and the willingness to learn, to grow, and to remember our connection in spirit every day, no matter what we face. So thank you for joining me again. Sorry I was a few minutes late, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.